as they're captured in the camera.
Yeah.
Like this footage itself even looks a little compressed. Like, am I seeing JPEG compression here?
Yeah, you probably
Or
are.
is that just,
No, you're seeing
yeah, so,
these. Yeah, these have been bounced around a lot. So, but we do. Our live data is HD camera feeds.
Pixel for pixel.
But a lot of times it's interlaced. It's 1080i video, which means we do have some artifacts from the deinterlacing.
Yeah, that doesn't matter as much. What matters more is JPEG compression, because what JPEG compression specifically does is it takes 10 pixels worth of data and converts them to 1 pixel's worth of data, right? So suddenly that information that we are relying on to see how the object tilts is now completely mushed up and obliterated.
Gotcha.
Because we look at individual pixels. That's what we're looking at. We're not looking at points and features or hard edges or any of that mess. We're looking at the entire pixel pattern. And the more you adulterate that pixel pattern, the worse mocha is going to work.
Makes sense.
So things like retiming, retiming is killer. And things like compression and resizing images is the killer on mocha. That being said, if you want to do these things, it's best to do them after you've done the tracking. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. One more thing I want to talk about as far as the tracker goes and how it works is we have this angle and zoom thing right here, okay? And angle, what that does is if you increase this angle, like let's say this guy was rotating quite a bit, like he was falling very fast, we can increase the angle percentage to like 15 degrees or 45 degrees or whatever, and it would increase the search range by that many degrees. It would hold on better. It would give us a tracking hit.
Gotcha.
Okay. Same thing for zoom percentage. If this is like a really rapid, zoom, then we would have to do a zoom percentage as well to hang on. Otherwise, it might not hang on as well.
And those numbers now, I guess if it's 0, it uses some default value, or is it just rounding?
0 is the default value, and if you increase it by if you increase it to 10%, it's going to increase 110% of the range.
Gotcha.
If you're increasing it by 200, it's going to be 200%.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And an angle is 5 degrees, so 25, 35, 90, 180, etc. Okay.
Makes sense.
So, because otherwise, mocha just looks in a small, reasonable area,
Yeah.
and then tries to latch on.
And are there settings for how much? So that's about the angle and zoom, but what about just basic movement? Like, is there a way to restrict or constrain the amount of movement from frame to frame? Because we're always shooting people, right? And the camera movement is. So is there a way to help the situation by saying, okay, something can't just leap over by a certain amount of the real estate in a single frame kind of thing?
So not in Mocha Pro yet, not like where you can see it, but I imagine there's something like that in the actual programming itself.
Yeah.
And that would be something JP could tell you more about, because I actually don't know a lot about the algorithm side of things and the SDK side of things. But what I will say is that we have the ability, we used to have the ability to sort of predict where the track was going, and I know it's buried in there somewhere, and I think that you should talk to JP about the track prediction that we've been working on, because that sort of judges what the previous motion has been, and then we'll make its best guess as to where the motion is going to be from there, based on trajectory. And that can help you do things like get past that huddle pile, for example.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. It's like, we know physically that certain things are impossible, so that may help with the occlusion and confusion cases. I mean, to our luckily, most of the time, player being tracked is going to be in some way separate from the herd, but if there's a tackle or a collision, that's going to be a difficult problem for us to solve if there are two players in the same jersey color.
Yep.
But again, perfection is not our goal here. We're working from, hopefully a fairly realistic expectation that, look, it's not going to work everywhere all the time, but if we can make it, if we can get something down that's usable and demonstrable, we're going to have a really cool product to show off.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I've seen a lot of the stuff that they use. I pretty much only watch the Super Super Bowl and the Thanksgiving game, and that's pretty much what I watch. I'm not really big into football. Like my husband likes it, but we hardly even watch it at home. You know, like he's a Saints fan. But the thing is like I've seen the kinds of stuff they're doing, and a lot of the stuff they're doing, it looks like they've calculated the actual angle of the field, and then it looks like a guy like physically draws on the footage, you know, in real time, and that's not very accurate. It's just a bunch of like X's and arrows, you know. So I definitely think that if you guys can get some of this tracking in there, like it would really make it look a lot more motion graphicsy, you know, a lot more clean.
Yeah. And again, our one constraint is we don't want to have to send a team of people down to every event to calibrate the field and do a bunch of things like that. So we're
Exactly.
we got to find that kind of fine line between doing too much science and making things really hard for ourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
clicked the
okay.
wrong thing.
It's okay. You want to go back? There we go.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
I was trying to turn this visually off, and it went over into your thing.
No, considering you're working remotely on content you haven't seen before, I'm pretty impressed, I gotta say.
Oh, good. So one of the things I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to cut this out.
Okay.
Because if I leave that there, I'm not going to be able to track. I'm going to try to track this field over here and sort of show you what I mean.
Okay.
So we're just going to call this holdout. Okay, and we're going to call this guy track. So, and let's just come over here to holdout, and let's under holdout, let's grab some of the field.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to drag this under our holdout mask, okay, and we're going to call this field. The reason we drag it under holdout is because Mocha treats everything at the top of the layer pile like it's closest to the camera. So if you roto from the foreground to the background, you're always going to have a holdout mask for everything beneath it. That means when I track this field now, let me just go ahead and turn my surface tool on my field. And let's actually align it more or less to the field so that it looks, correct-ish. This is visual, this is not something where Mocha's like, you've done it wrong or right. So we're going to align to the field, and now I'm going to go ahead and hit track forwards, for example. And you notice I'm turning perspective on.
Okay, yeah. So
it's going to follow.
So just by selecting that layer and putting it underneath the holdout layer, it's going to ignore everything in that region of interest in the holdout layer? Is that what happened there? Okay, but automatically. They don't have to tell it a layer is a certain thing or anything like that.
Yep, you just put it in the layer below and it's held out.
Gotcha.
And so now I can position anything on the field now based on this track.
Very cool.
So it's pretty sweet. So, but you see, because I'm tracking a large amount of pixels, it's not exactly super, super fast.
Yeah.
It's not real-time fast, but, we could speed that up by tracking a smaller area or what have you,
And let's say, let's say it was a really crisp image with no JPEG compression, and that region was just a bunch of grass or something.
So you're going to have a harder time on a bunch of grass unless that grass has a noticeable texture in it.
Gotcha.
So, do you see how this grass kind of has, some striations?
Yeah.
Then that's fine. But where it starts to look like a pattern of nothing,
or noise,
then you're going to have more. Yeah, where it starts to look like noise, you're not going to be able to track that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And if we try to track the whole field, we're obviously going to be crunching away for a long time, right?
Yeah, you are. And then, of course, here's another thing. Do you see how this doesn't track as well right there? We're just going to take this whole shape, and we're going to move this shape down over here, and we're just going to make it smaller, for example. And we're actually changing where we're looking.
Okay.
Okay? But it's still the same plane. Okay? So that doesn't matter.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. I got it now.
So now it's going to continue tracking that.
Gotcha. So any of those layers get assigned to a two-dimensional plane which can have 3D transformations including scale, and we can turn on and off things like shear and perspective, and whatever I pick. So if I move the region of interest around halfway through, I'm just telling it to track a different set of pixels as if they were in the same plane as the ones I was looking at before.
They are on the same plane.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, they are according to the software, but they may not be in real life, right?
Okay, you can track different things. That's they are the same plane. The field is all one plane.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Any part of the field is all one plane.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be pedantic. I'm trying to make
No,
sure
no, no.
that
I get it. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, let's say we tried to use this for golf or something, we'd have a different set of issues.
Yes, of course.
But luckily, there's not a whole lot of stuff running around on a golf course, so we don't have to worry about that. But the fact that we are, all of our sports are on flat fields really helps us here.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I would track that so I could put anything on the ground. And like, for example, once I want to put something on the ground, it'll just go wherever my surface tool is. So if I put in like an insert clip, and let's put like the mocha logo here, now it moves.
Gotcha.
In with my
So
track.
that logo, wherever you put it along the timeline, it'll get the transformation forward and backwards for that grid, right? So when you place that, you gave it a location anywhere along the timeline. And
and like I can move it anywhere though. Like
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter. Once I move the surface tool, it's still going to move along with that track no matter what.
Got it.
So.
Yeah, very cool.
Now, it looks like it's wobbling a little bit. That's probably JPEG compression, but anyway, there you go. It's pretty sweet. Like, it really allows you to do a lot of stuff that is normally pretty hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, if you had any like problem with this, like for instance, I feel like this is wobbling a little bit. What I could do is I could just track a larger area, and I could do things like turn perspective off and track backwards.
Gotcha.
And that'll fix a lot of evils.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times we're only dealing with camera pan because it's sports, so we don't. It's very rare that there's. There's never camera rotation, but there will be rotation of the plane, and so we can probably translation and scale are the ones that we're concerned about the most.
Cool.
Excellent. So I need to get some better quality clips to start with.
Yeah, because the more low res your clips are, definitely the worse your tracks are going to be.
Yeah.
So.
And what I should
do
is.
Look at this. I want you to notice something. Do you see how this shape is moving all over the place, but the track is staying in the same place?
Yeah.
That really illustrates what the whole. It's looking in a different place. It's not.
Gotcha.
It's not actually changing the track.